Alright, it's Red City, the abnormal map with the high ground above the natural, and for the big fans of the channel who've been watching me forever, you know that I'm a sucker for the high ground above the natural. Now this one has a ramp to it, so it's way less exciting. As Johnny Drama would say, no. It's like obviously a reference to Lost Temple if you're an old school StarCraft fan, or a fan of the channel even, because I've covered a lot of games that were played on Lost Temple. That was a map that was out for the first few seasons of StarCraft, and famously had a ledge overlooking the natural where Terran players would drop Thors or tanks against Zerg. So that became this funny thing where every time you played a best of 7 in that era, it was like, oh great, Lost Temple, and it was like, he's just gonna tank or Thor drop me, how do I hold my natural? That map only lasted a few seasons, but it was weird because that was considered like an old school Brood War map, but it was just absolutely ridiculous in StarCraft 2. And I actually remember one time Select told me that like he was scared of Idra's Lost Temple, and like he said he played a sick Lost Temple, and Jinro said the same thing, which is also like really interesting, like to hear really good Terran players say like, yes, Lost Temple was good, as we see once again innovation going for CC first, but on the high ground, the safer version of the economic build. It's just almost unfathomable to say like, yeah, that Zerg's Lost Temple is good. And why is that, you might be asking? Because whenever you play a map with like a really obnoxious positional thing that only benefits one race, like you are in the driver's seat as the guy that plays that race. Like Terran, of course, I was just talking about Siege Tank and Thor drops, right? Like, what is Zerg gonna do with a cliff above the high ground? Like, drop roaches up there? LOL? Like, give me a break. Like, obviously, we're talking about like it being good for Terran. As the map Whirlwind that we saw earlier in the series was a really good Zerg map. Bizarrely, that was like Innovation's best map because when he got cross positions, that was the macro map and like the longest rust distance and the best, most balanced macro map. The Innovation was just untouchable on that map cross position. So Soulkey's got to be saying to himself, like, at least the freaking Whirlwind game is out of the way. But Daybreak does loom in this pool still. That's the other like big consistent macro map that a lot of people know. Daybreak, if you don't know, is the map in StarCraft 2 history that has had the most games played on it. This map got absolutely played to shit, Daybreak did, in the end of Wings of Liberty. As I couldn't decide whether to take a drink of coffee there or finish my sentence. But Daybreak is like a classic macro map that if like you're gonna play your buddy in StarCraft, like yeah, let's put it on Daybreak. Like everyone should know Daybreak, and if you don't, like it's very standard. This map, not so much like Red City. This is one of those maps that like a lot of people vetoed right out the gate. It lasts one season or two in GSL, and the best of three, like round of 16, people like someone's gonna veto Red City. But this is one reason why I really do like high grounds on maps, like cutesy little high grounds or like cutesy little back paths or just stuff that makes it a little bit more unique and like can we see in this way like add to a Zerg strategy as he hides the baneling nest up there. The reason that it's sort of an interesting thing is a lot of times if the Terran scans, he's not going to scan that high ground. Innovation sees, Jesus Christ, he's cheesing me again. Another roach bane on close positions, and the Zerg player is about to just try to thump through Innovation's front doors. Normally when we talk about big GSL games in close position, it's the Zerg player at a disadvantage, but the Zerg players all just want to cheese Inno, so it actually hurts Inno as all of Inno's units die, as all he has is Hellions, nothing really to be in the bunkers, and Innovation is in a spot where suddenly he's having to retreat all of his workers. Soulkey's cut drones here, and no, he hasn't. He's actually flooded drones. Excuse me, they had the units tab up. I just saw those links coming in, but that's very interesting that he flooded drones there. And I love that he did that because it's so easy to run in with these attacks and kill a bunch of workers, and it feels like you're going to kill the Terran player outright, and you don't, and you just waste your lead by making more attacking units. I can't tell you how many times that I've lost while doing Roach Banelins versus Terran, and like I break their natural and like clear all their natural workers, and I keep making roachling, and this is what they do. They wall in, they get some splash damage, whether it be Hellions or Widow Mines, and they stabilize. And because the unit tab was up, I couldn't see that Soulkey was flooding drones there, but that's what he did. Now, if he had flooded units there, I think Inno still would have held, based on like the re-wall in and getting those two mines out, and we can see that Inno always does the little things right. He's spreading these mines out. A lot of people just fucking grab all these mines and right-click them down to their expo and go back to macroing. Inno's like very fastidious about his unit positioning and is very fun to watch. Now, one thing that Zerg players would do in this era is they would have sort of like the 2 base economy roach bane all in like we just saw, but then sometimes they would have like the 3 base economy. Oftentimes they wouldn't take their 5th and 6th gas, but they would have like the more robust 3 base economy, big like speed roach speed bane all in as we see all the widow mines go off. And the widow mines were very powerful, so there was sort of like this Zerg meme hope that you could get them to self splash, but oftentimes the lings would just die before you could get the mines to truly self-splash sufficiently for it to be worth it once they had medevacs out. But Inno is thinking about moving out, and it's holy shit, Soulkey's doing a follow-up all-in, and he probably thought that after all that time Soulkey was droning and going into Muta and going into a macro game. Soulkey did like a great job of hiding his tech this game, so even if Inno scanned or scouted around, he wouldn't necessarily see like those buildings wiggling and wouldn't be able to deduce what's going on. And again, because they spawn close positions on a map that they don't play a lot, if Inno grabs the tower, he still doesn't see a lot of these attacks coming. And this is the 2 sort of roach ban all-ins you can do, and they're done back to back in a way that complement each other. If Soulkey had just keep pressing with that first one, he would have lost, but he took the advantage that he got, made a huge flood of drones, got the necessary upgrades, and did a huge follow-up all-in, and really caught Inno off guard and beat him. And that was a great expert, aggressive, sharp timing from Soulkey. And this is definitely a guy who's saying to himself, well, I don't want to go into a macro game. And Innovation is a guy who's saying, well, I'm winning all the macro games, these damn Zergs keep cheesing me, this is so frustrating. But at the end of the day, if I get into a macro game, I should be able to win. I just didn't expect that huge swell of roach speed bans, and I didn't have any tanks, and when they go completely all in like that, and have no backup plan, it can catch you off guard. And remember, Inno took a lot of damage here. He's down to 18 workers here. This is no joke. And look, he's down sub 40 supply. And the reason that you can throw your lead as Zerg is because Terran has 3cc Mule. What they can do is they can if you run in with Zerg, you kill their front door and a bunch of workers, and they lift their orbital, and they end up holding your push. Well, then you make a bunch more Roach Ling and stooge it into the front door, and the Terran's in a position where they've been triple pumping workers and dropping a bunch of mules, and you're still on like your 45 drone economy because from your all in. What Soulkey did was he said, alright, I'm going to do this big Roach Bane attack. Okay, I got enough damage to get into the mid game, and he's crippled enough where I can kill him with the follow-up attack. He can't die to this current all-in. He's officially held because he's so good and his micro's so clean. But if I slam into him with the next all-in, I won't have to play him in a real macro game right before he gets his third and gets his third production really cooking. And that's what he did. He slammed right into Inno. So sub for more. Make sure you click the bell and click like.